Hey, boys and girls, did you know that if you were to take all of the blood vessels in your body and tie them end to end, tie them all up, and stretch them out as far as they would go, that those suckers are going to reach around the earth two and a half times. That's right. This week, we're studying the circulatory system. Your circulatory system is made up of three major parts: your blood vessels, and your heart. And this week, we're going to learn about all three of those and how they work together to nourish your body and to take care of you. Your blood vessels are the highway system of your body. They deliver nutrients and oxygen to all of your cells and pick up all of the waste products through your red blood cells. Now listen, you have three different types of blood vessels running through your body. There's arteries, capillaries, and veins. Arteries are going to pump blood away from the heart. They have the most pressure in them. They are going to be very elastic because they receive so much pressure from the force of your heart pounding against them. They have to be elastic. Your veins are going to take all that blood and travel it back to your heart. So they have the least amount of pressure because most of the time they're working against gravity. And because of that, they also have valves in them. Those valves are like stair steps that allow for and prevent the backflow of blood from pooling at your feet. And so they are going to be specialized, and they're going to be thinner walled, and they're going to be a little bit less elastic than your arteries would be. Your arteries are typically the largest. One can be as thick as your thumb, like your jugular vein, right, in your neck. And last but not least is your capillaries. Your capillaries are where the delivery of nutrients takes place. That's how your blood is able to deliver nutrients and oxygen and pick up those waste products from your body cells is through your capillaries. Have you ever gotten a bloody nose? Scraped your knee? That right there is a burst capillary. And while capillaries are the tiniest, in fact microscopic, they're only one cell thick, they too carry a lot of blood and are easily broken, especially the ones that are close to the surface. All right, so let's talk blood. Your blood is made up of four different components. Of those four components, what we typically see is red blood cells. Then you have white blood cells, platelets, and plasma. All four are incredibly important. Your red blood cells are going to be the carriers. They're going to pick up oxygen from your lungs. Take a deep breath, man. That stuff's important. So they pick up oxygen from your lungs. They also kick out carbon dioxide to your lungs, so that way you can get rid of that nasty stuff. And they pick up the oxygen, and when they do so, there's this chemical inside of your red blood cell called hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is made of iron, and I want you to process and think this through. If you have like an iron sculpture out in your yard, and it gets rained on, and the sun hits it, and this and that, over time, what is going to happen to that iron structure? It's going to rust. And so that's called oxidation. That's when oxygen and water come together to create this chemical reaction. Same thing happens in your red blood cells. When that iron inside the hemoglobin of your red blood cells picks up that oxygen, it doesn't necessarily rust, but it oxidizes, and that's why we see that bright red color. And listen, your blood is never blue. It's never blue, okay? I know all of us are, well, oh, no, it's blue, but it's oxygen poor. No, it's not. Your blood is only ever red. It can be varying shades of red. It might be very bright red when it's oxygen rich. It might be a deep, dark red when it's oxygen poor, but it is never, ever blue. And you might be like, but my veins, I can see them, they're blue. I don't care. It's because you're looking at it through layers of skin, okay? It's not because it's blue when it's in my body, and when it opens up and hits oxygen, then no, guys. Red blood cells carry oxygen. They're always in contact with oxygen, so they're always red. They don't turn blue. Always red, you guys, okay? If there's one lesson we learned today, your blood is never blue. So now that's not to say some organisms, if I'm going to get kind of crazy and out there, there's the horseshoe crab. If you've ever heard of that guy and you're bored, Google it, YouTube a video, horseshoe crab blood. They do have blue blood because their blood is made of not hemoglobin. It has a different chemical property in it, which actually is made of copper. And copper oxidizes as well when it hits water and oxygen. It doesn't oxidize to turn that bright red color. It oxidizes to turn this other color. Think of a dirty, nasty penny. Pennies have copper on the outside. Think about what happens when you see a dirty, nasty penny. What color does it turn? Green or blue. Sometimes we call it that teal blue color. Think about the Statue of Liberty. She's made of copper. She's come across a lot of water because she sits out in the ocean, okay? Water and oxygen. So she's turned that like greeny blue color. So horseshoe crabs, well, that's the color of their blood because their blood is rich in copper. Ours is not. Ours is rich in iron. All right, so your blood is made of red blood cells. Then you have these amazing disease fighters, infection fighters, your white blood cells. You have far less white blood cells in your body than you do red blood cells. Far, far less. In fact, if you have a high number of white blood cells, that might be a warning sign to us to say, you might be sick, because as you get sick, your body goes, hey, we need more fighters. And so your body will produce more and more white blood cells to fight off that disease. So if you have a high level of white blood cells, that might be an indicator when they go and draw your blood at the doctor's office. If they see elevated levels of white blood cells, they might want to do more tests to see what is it that's wrong, because you really shouldn't unless you're sick, unless there's something happening. All right, next, platelets. Platelets are awesome. What happens when you get a cut? You do what? You bleed. Then what happens? I'm done bleeding. What happens? I get a gross scab, and I'm not nasty. I don't pick my scabs. I don't eat them. That's gross. Okay. But your scab is actually many, many platelets, little teeny tiny cell fragments of red blood cells that get stuck there. Then they send out this little chemical called fibrin. Fibrin weaves across the cut, gets a stretchy fabric across the cut. Other platelets get stuck to it. Other red blood cells get stuck to it, and then it hardens and congeals, and you get a nice, beautiful scab to protect you from continuing to bleed. So platelets are important. And then last and not least, your plasma. Plasma is so important. Plasma is really the liquid of your blood. It's mostly water, but there's other proteins and chemicals inside of it. And that plasma can help carry the code and the information to fight off other diseases. In fact, right now, with the coronavirus going on, anyone who has been exposed to the coronavirus and has gotten well, they're asking those people to donate their plasma, not their blood. They want their plasma because it's got the proteins in it that can recognize the disease and help others fight the disease. So they found in studies that somebody who's really sick right now in the hospital on the ventilator, and they're like near death, okay? And they found that if they give somebody plasma, the liquid part of your blood that has those proteins in it, if they give somebody plasma from another person who has already gotten well from the coronavirus, if we give them that plasma, their body begins to recognize the virus and fight it off. And within 3 days, they're almost back to normal. They're on the brink of death, and then they're almost back to normal, all because of plasma. So your blood is much more than just red blood cells. It's very complex. It's a big disease fighter. It's your number one kind of source of fighting diseases, and so essential for delivering nutrients, because your white blood cells, when they go to your red blood cells, when they go to your lungs to pick up oxygen and kick out the carbon dioxide, it travels all through your body. Then those red blood cells travel all throughout your body, and they deliver that oxygen. But not only do they deliver oxygen, they also deliver nutrients from your digestive system. We learned about our digestive system. When those red blood cells reach the villi, the little teeny tiny hair-like projections in your intestine, when they reach the villi, they then pick up that nutrient source, and they deliver that as well as pick up all the waste products from your cells. So important, your circulatory system, and it does interact with your respiratory system, your lungs, and your digestive system. In fact, it interacts with every system in your body. And that's a little bit about our blood. The largest component of your circulatory system is your heart. Your heart is one giant muscle. And so, what is the force that pushes all that blood through your body? Well, of course, it's your heart. If you ever heard your heart beat, it might sound a little bit like this: lup dup, lup dup. It's this 2-beat system, and that's because your heart has 4 major chambers in it: 2 upper chambers and 2 lower chambers, one on the right and one on the left. So of this 4-chamber system, your blood is pumping into your heart and out to your lungs, and then back into your heart to the rest of your body. Your upper right atria is going to be pumping blood out down into the ventricle. Your ventricles are the muscular part of your heart. And when it contracts and pulls together, it then pushes blood out to your lungs, where it gets rid of all that carbon dioxide rich blood in your lung system and picks up good oxygen and comes back through the pulmonary arteries into the left side of your heart. And on the left atria, it then travels down to your left ventricle, that major pump. That is actually the largest side of your heart. In fact, when we put our hands over the left side of our chest to put your hand on your heart when you say the Pledge of Allegiance, it's not because your heart is more to the left. It's that the left side of your heart is larger than the right side of your heart, and it's a stronger muscle. And so we can kind of feel it a little bit stronger on the left side. Your heart is in the direct middle of your chest. That's why we do CPR in the middle of your chest to pump that heart again. So the left side of your heart, that strong ventricle, that left ventricle, is going to be pumping blood all the way out, down to your entire body. That force with every beat, boom, 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 boom. That's the opening and shutting of valves that you're hearing, right? That constriction, that movement of that muscular system. Each little bum bum is a force and a push on your arteries. It is pushing blood down to your toes, up to your head, every square inch of your body, and then all the way back again. Because there's no pump at your feet. Whatever force is coming from your heart is pushing the blood all the way down to your feet and back to your heart again in one big system, one giant loop.